Hello, everybody. Sandra Delaja here from Kyiv, Ukraine. I want to welcome you to this our program today. You are going to like it. First of all, you are going to like the beautiful lady that we are having today to present the book, because she's written a wonderful book, and it's a book that is needed every day. It's a book for parents, and it's a book for children, and it's a book about parenting. You know, one thing with the African parents is that most of us don't even know that you have to learn to parent. We just take it at its stride, as if that's the way things are supposed to be, because you are born, you gave birth to a child, then it will naturally be okay for you to be a good parent. No, you've got to study and learn how to be a good parent. I personally have written a book on that. It's called How to Build Friendly Relationship with Your Child. And Vanessa said she likes it immediately she saw the topic. But we are going to be talking about Vanessa's book today. Can you show me Vanessa's book? So it is Vanessa's book we are going to be talking about. And our book is a bomb. I read it, and I wrote a foreword to it, and I just think every parent, whether you are white, black, American, European, but especially African parents, and of course, most especially those in the diaspora, all of us, we need to get this book as a handbook for the family. It's called Effective Parenting, a practical understanding of child upbringing. But then it's not just like me writing, right? I write just from my own practical example and from what I've learned from the Bible and from life. But in this case, Vanessa is more of a professional. So, you know, if you want to talk about parenting, she has daily experience with it. And she encounters parents all the time. And she's working with the UK government, so that you know that in UK they could take your children from you, or your child from you, and she is in that department where they have to bring them into for consultation and things like that. So this book, one of the reasons you will need it is because she knows the kind of problems that our people encounter on daily basis there in the UK, and she knows that if these things are attended to the way she has attended to them in a book, that, you know, we will not have our children ending up in prisons and being taken away by the government, and all kind of troubles that our people run into, our African people run into. So, without much ado, let me introduce you to the hero. You know, she's my hero because this lady, you know, she has met with the Queen. She was honored by the Queen of England for the kind of work she's doing. So you want to read that book for sure, and you want to listen to her. If you don't know Vanessa, you know, that's why I'm telling you, she is one of the most respected individual you will see out there of an African descent. So Vanessa, here we go. How are you doing today? It's been a while.
Fine. Yes, good evening. Good evening, everybody. It's been a while, yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you very
What
much.
what
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come back again.
You always have different hairstyle. This is a new one again.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Yeah, thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Tell me, where have you been? What has been going on in your life, or ever since the last time you came on here?
Yes, I've been
Ever
busy.
since you were honored by the Queen.
Yes, I've been busy, busy doing a lot of work within the community, and then also doing a lot of work within the Commonwealth countries, or the Commonwealth diaspora living in Liverpool, because I'm also the General Secretary for the Liverpool Commonwealth Association as well. So I've just been busy with referrals and working with African parents and practitioners here in Liverpool. So it's been quite busy for me. It's been quite a busy year. Yes, must I
But
say yes.
Commonwealth goes beyond Africa, isn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it goes beyond Africa. We've got the African continental bloc, we've got the Americas, we've got the Caribbean, we've got the Pacific. So I'm General Secretary for the Commonwealth Association in Liverpool. So I oversee those diaspora people from the Commonwealth countries living in Liverpool.
From all of the Commonwealth countries,
Yes.
not just from the
Yes.
African bloc.
No, 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 not just for the African, for the all the Commonwealth countries representatives in Liverpool. Yes.
Wow. So you actually interacting with different cultures then?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Indians, Asians,
Yes.
Pacifics.
Indian. Yes, the Asians from India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, yeah, no, 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 Malaysia, yeah, Sri Lankans, Bangladesh, Indians, and Pakistanis, and that's from the Asia continental bloc. Then the Ocean Pacific, we've got the New Zealanders, the Australians, the Samoans, the people from Fuji, Nauru, all those smaller islands in the Pacific. Then we've got the African continental bloc. Then we've got the we've got the European bloc where we've got Malta, Cyprus, and the United Kingdom. And then we have the Americas and the Caribbean. Americas is Canada and Guyana. Then we've got the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and all the smaller islands that are there as well. They are also part of the Commonwealth as well. So I'm interacting with a lot of people from different worlds. Yes,
Who? Wow. But your
yes.
work with them is not related to your work with parents.
It's not related, but sometimes it occurs because I've got some Asian clients that I work with as well.
So, but tell us about your work as a counselor, a parent counselor, and advanced advisor to the to the government.
Yes, what I do is I come in as a bridge between the diasporan and then the local authority here in Liverpool. I try to get the two sides to understand each other because sometimes there's always that friction of not understanding what's culture on or how to go about communication. That's the right word. So the practitioners use my service to get through to people who are from outside the UK to let them understand, especially the laws pertaining welfare of children living in the UK. So that's what I help the practitioners to do to for the diaspora or the people living here from other countries to understand. Now, my work with the practitioners is also to let them understand the culture or the tradition of where these people are coming from. If that's what we call cultural intelligence, I help them to build or improve on their cultural intelligence so that they know how to communicate effectively with these people so that they don't there's not that friction or lack of understanding between the two parties, because usually when there is lack of understanding or lack of communication between the two parties, the child or the person involved, suffers. So there has to be that understanding. There has to be that perfect communication between the two parties.
Are there some challenges or some problems that you see with parents and with parenting in the UK, especially by diasporans, that by immigrants, that triggered you to write this book, Effective Parenting?
Yes, in fact, that's the reason why I wrote this book, because there are enormous challenges, where people who have grown up or who have lived in certain places for a very long time have come into a new environment. They're finding it very difficult to adapt into the new environment they find themselves in. So you have parents who all they know, some of them know that child upbringing has to be discipline. But the difference is that, yes, there is discipline, but the correlation between discipline and physical chastisement, they do not understand it. Meanwhile, in the country in which we live in, or where they find themselves in, there is a difference between physical chastisement and discipline. Now, the physical chastisement might lead into what we call grievous bodily harm or assault, which is translated into the law could be criminal. So sometimes when people who have migrated into the country exhibit what they know as discipline, but translates to be physical chastisement or grievous bodily harm or assault in the land in which they find themselves in, they feel that their rights are being trampled upon on their children, especially with children, and not only with children, even with assault and with adults or with anybody. You understand? In the UK, for instance, maybe say if you shout at somebody, it can be translated to be verbal assault, and you could be charged you could be charged for it,
What
and you
about
could go
if the
to
person you are shouting at is your child?
Yes, the thing is, if the person you are shouting at is your child, and you are causing that your shouting is causing fear and panic to that person, there's a provision in the law that that makes it seem as if you are verbally assaulting that person, and a lot of people don't know. So maybe say if a child has been shouted on, or maybe say threatened, if you don't do this, I'll smack you, or if you lose your phone, I'll little languages like if you do this, I'll beat you, or if you do that, I'll kill you, things like that. And a child inhibits things like this and goes to school to say that, the safeguarding officer will take it seriously and write a report on it to say that this child is physically being abused, as in verbally, because that's what they understand as verbal assault. It means that you are using language to threaten somebody or to cause harm to somebody. So I try to be a bridge between the practitioner and the parent, to tell the practitioner that sometimes the parent or the person who is doing the shouting may necessarily not mean what they have said. They are just saying it because that's what they are used to be able to, put the child in check. That's the word. Put the child in check. But the practitioner will think that, oh, this child or this person is at risk because there has already been a verbal assault or a verbal insult that is causing fear and harm to that child. So I now then tell the parents to say, look, this is what you have in section so and so, in section 36C or whatever it is. When you threaten somebody verbally, it is classed as assault, and you can be charged for it, and you could go to jail for it. So that's where that communication comes in, and then the practitioners tend to appreciate what I do, because they feel that I'm breaking it down I'm making their work easier, for them on the other party side. So you see cases where they're supposed to have been prosecuted, but they let me come in. I do a 12-week referral course with these parents, get them to understand all these things, and then write a report to say that, look, this is just mere it's either, it goes two ways anyway. It could either be mere ignorance, or strongly believe that the parents are guilty, or mean real harm for that child, and that child may not necessarily be safe in that environment. So that's what some of the things that I do based on my referral work. But what I have seen so far, there have not really been any, I can tell you, any cause for me to have children being removed from their homes anyway. They haven't. I haven't had that, because I'm here to help prevent that, and also to help get children sanitized. I mean, as in have that family relationships, because when they don't have those family relationships and they're being removed from their homes, they turn out to be worse, and it's not even good for the state. That's number one, and it's not good for their well-being as well. So when I break all these things down with the practitioners, working with them, they also understand where I'm coming from. But because they don't really have that patience, or they have that time, they're just going through the books and making sure that children are protected. Yes, we protect children, but you have to look at the other side as well. Look at their holistic well-being, their mental well-being, and all that. Then also take into consideration where their parents are coming from, what circumstances their parents are facing that may trigger them to exhibit, in quotes, unwarranted behaviors towards their children. And like, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where you had an interview with Victoria, where she was saying that a lot of people are not preparing themselves properly for marriage and things. Yes, that also goes with parenting as well. A lot of people, especially out from where we come from, are not prepared to be parents. People maybe just get pregnant, and then all of a sudden they find themselves as a parent. They haven't gone through that rigorous or understanding. They're not prepared psychologically and even physically to handle another person, that they can call as a child. So sometimes some of them, out of frustration, because they don't understand how childhoods, or how children develop from certain stage to certain stages, they now vent when they start to see some kind of characteristics which to them is out of the blue. Then they vent their frustration on the children, and that's where you have all this physical chastisement, assault, insulting, and things like that, you know being exhibited on children. And sometimes to those who have also been here for some time, it's shocking that sometimes they don't even try to learn to see how it is done here. Yes, I can tell you, the white people also have their own faults. It's not a strictly African problem or black people's problem. No, the white people also have theirs, but in a way we exhibit ours because we are very action driven people. We raise our hands and we shout and we think and we talk and things like that. So the white people look at us and they're like, oh, this one, she's exhibiting aggressiveness. I can tell. Let me give you an example. When I was called into a referral, and the mom was, all she was talking on, talking. I could understand where she was coming from. She was, exhibiting all the characters and shouting and dramatizing and all that. And the practitioners were just looking at her and they're telling her that she's, trying to noting things down. So I told the lady, I said, you have to calm down. Otherwise, the way you are behaving, they will say you have a mental problem. They'll read it in a different manner. But when, she was exhibiting, I just told her, I said, look, she's just throwing her emotions, because emotions with white people, they cry. They are calm and they cry. But we Africans, we are throwing tantrums, we are throwing our hands up and down, and we are shouting, and but we really may not be that aggressive that they look at us, and those are some of the things that I try to, in my work, try to get, a lot of our people to say, look, when you are expressing yourself, you don't need to, raise your voice. You can express yourself in a calm manner. Let the person understand you. Once the person has understood you, then you've made your point. But by the time you start throwing tantrums and things like that, they will say that, look, this woman has a mental health problem, things like that. So we just try to put the two, together. But like I say, most of us grew up in those kind of environments. We saw our parents do it. We saw our grandparents do it. We saw our aunties do it. So when we come and we grow up to become adults, we're also doing the same thing, but in a different environment. That is the thing that a lot of people don't understand, in a different environment. However, like I say, the people that we're living in, or our hosts, are trying to understand us, that this is how we are, this is our culture, this is our tradition. You understand? They just need a little bit more patience, and we too also have to calm down, because that's what I always tell parents as well. I say, you know what, flying all these tantrums and things will not bring your children back. It will rather take them away from you, or make your case harder. So we need to learn how to, and a lot of them are calming down as well, because they've come to understand that, look, throwing all these tantrums because it doesn't make sense and things like that. So those are some of the success stories that we have been able to establish here. And coming to where why I wrote this book as well, is to help a lot of people who are getting married, young people who are getting married, or people who want to get married, to understand that, look, not just the marriage, you're also going to bring children in. You have to understand what their stages are, because sometimes you can have somebody who may not be psychologically prepared to handle a child, and they don't understand. And sometimes, like I keep on saying, God works in mysterious ways. And when the Bible says that He will not give us more than what we cannot chew, it is right. If some people are having delay in childbearing, some of the times, I can guarantee you, maybe say about 60 or 70%, if God were to be here to speak to us, He will tell you that this person is not psychologically prepared to handle a child. Which is the truth. A lot of people don't understand this. Some people think, oh, as soon as I get married, I'm supposed to have children. No, you have to be psychologically prepared. You have to be physically prepared. You have to be financially prepared. If you don't have all these attributes, especially the psychological part of being prepared to become a parent, you become a parent and you'll be the worst parent there ever. You will have a child, and you yourself, you even regret why you had that child, because you were not physically prepared or psychologically prepared. And that's why I wrote this book, Effective Parenting: A Practical Understanding of Child Upbringing, which will tell you exactly what you should expect from 0 to 3 years, from 3 to 5 years, from 5 to 8, from 8 to 10, and then from the 10 between 10 and 12 years, and then 13 to 18 or 19 years. So you have everything tailored in this book that will tell you exactly what to expect. Because sometimes you have some people who give birth to children, they have what we call post-traumatic syndrome. That's after they've given birth to the child. Some of them get so confused, they don't even know how to handle this child. But where we're coming from in Africa, when you have a child, you have all your family around you. But when you are in diaspora, you really do not have that network system. Although, yes, you may have that network system, but you don't have it 24/7. You see, and it's not just for the women, it's also for the men as well. Because sometimes, if you don't have that, if a woman does not have that proper support from her husband, it's going to be a lot of problem. I'll give you an example. When I had my 2 children here, my husband was all the time helping me out, because it was quite stressful for me. I had my son, the second one, in the thick of winter. In fact, it was extremely cold. We had snow and all that, to the extent that I myself, I was frozen. as in frozen after I had him and all that. But luckily for me, my husband was very good, made sure that he was with me all the time, gave me massages, to calm me down, to, release the tension and stuff like that. And when, I need to rest because he sees I'm not sleeping at night because the child will not be sleeping. He will say I should go and sleep and he will take care of the child. But in Africa, it's not like that. And a lot of our men here, some of them have that, that's my because it's not easy. You don't have that support network here. So things like massaging, calming the woman down, helping with the children, helping with the child in that in those moments are very, very important moments after a woman has given birth. But sometimes a lot of women, some of them cannot handle it. That's where they will not have to prescribe you, they'll have to refer you to a psychologist or something like that. But a lot of our African women don't want to go for that because they think that when they take them to a psychologist, they think that they're running mad or things like that. But things are changing. So these are some of the things that people who want to become parents have to understand. Now, when the child becomes one, is growing or has come out of the womb, there are certain diseases or certain things that happen to that child. You have to learn those things. Sometimes it's easy in where we are, like in Nigeria or in Ghana or Africa, for instance. My junior brother, when he was a baby, used to convulse. That here is what we term epilepsy. Some infants have epilepsy, but after some time they grow out of it. But back home in Africa, when a child is having a fit or having an epilepsy, the next thing they put is spoon. They put a spoon in between that child's mouth just to make sure that the child doesn't close. And these are harmful things. So all these things you have to read and learn about so that when you have those children and these kind of things are happening, you know what to do. So when the child maybe gets to like age 2 or 3, some of them may not eat, some of them may eat. You start seeing all those kind of, you have to be psychologically prepared for all that, even to the extent to when they become teenagers, that they are of age, that there are things that you have to learn. You have to understand. There's the different characteristics of a child who is 5 years old to 8 years. 5 years old to 8 years, that is when they start to exhibit some kind of disobedient behavior, or they start to develop their kind of independent. They want to be independent, or they don't want you to tell them what to do and things like that. You have to have that patience to be able to deal with that. Now, by the time, if you are not able to, have a firm grip, or you are not able to understand those stages, by the time they get to age 9 or age 8, 9, and 10, you have lost them completely. Because at that time, they may not be able to, they must have formed their own kind of character, maybe low self-esteem or high self-esteem, or have their shy, fall into their shell, or they are outgoing. So those years are very, very, very crucial. Now, by the time they get to age 9, 10, 11, 12, then that is when their brain starts turning upside down. That's when their brain starts turning upside down. What I mean by turning upside down is that they start looking at themselves as like adults because of puberty, appearance of hairs around them. Their voices are breaking, either like for the boys thicker, or the girls a little bit lighter, and things like that. And then their reasoning is different from when they were younger. You would think, I used to have this child, when I tell him to go and bring something, he'll quickly go. But now when I tell him, he's being forgetful and things like that. All these things are things that a lot of parents or parents to be have to understand. When they're having children, and you have to build that kind of they say if you are a parent, you have to have 1 million% patience, because if you are not patient, every little thing your child does, you will be quick to raise your finger or raise your hand or raise your voice at that child. But you need to understand that that is a phase that they go through. And surprisingly, parents as we are, we forget that we also pass through those stages. We forget that we also pass through those stages. So sometimes I'm amazed at some parents who say, why is it that you don't listen to me and things like that? And then I'll tell them, I say, okay, you yourself, do you remember you when you were also growing up? Did you also remember things like that? And then they'll now say, oh yes, you are right. I say, yes, that's the stage. That's the beauty of childhood. So you need to try and develop, your knowledge around childhood or children and things like that. But another thing is that our parents didn't have the opportunity that we have. They just did it the way they knew. But now there is information. So that's why if you've got the information, utilize the information. And when you also, after you've got married and you're planning to have children and things, I always tell people that, look, if you want to have children, have the children that you can afford to take care of. If you know that maybe your salary is £10,000 in a year, know that 80% of that amount is going to the children's expenses. So you need to see 80% of what quality of life am I going to give those children? Because sometimes too, where we see a lot of neglect and where we see a lot of abuse with children here, especially here, is that you start noticing when children are being abused when in their appearance, they are not kempt, their hair is, maybe their hair is not cut. You can see that maybe they're having rashes, or they're not being taken care of, they're being malnourished, or they're not being given proper diets or things like that. That's when and they pick all those things from school. The school gets to see, they look at your uniform, they look at the children's uniform, the shoes and things like that. There was one referral that I had that the headmaster said that the children would come to school with soles, with holes in the soles of their feet. And I was like, wow. So yes, that they had to even give them new school shoes and things like that. I said, well, maybe, and this is the headmaster, saying something like this. And then the parents will be like, oh no, the children don't tell us anything and things like that. But it's your responsibility as a parent to make sure that you check the uniform, your children's clothes and things like that. So all these things have to be taken into consideration when you want to have children. And that is why I wrote this book, the effective parenting, a practical understanding of child upbringing, because all those things are in this book for you to understand how you need to prepare yourself for and being a parent.
I remember I realized that in the beginning you noticed this book. What's that again?
Yes.
You noticed this new book of mine, how
Yes.
to build friendly relationship with your child, and
Yes.
and you immediately spotted it. What was your impression? Why do you said that this should be a good book? Tell me
Yes.
about that.
Yes. You see, where we're coming from, and especially the religion that a lot of us practice, we see children as possessions. We don't see them as human beings. Because there's a part in the Bible that says that blessed is the man that has a quiver of them all. So we look at children as possessions.
Like
We don't
cattle,
look
like you pile up cattle. Eh?
exactly. We don't look at them as human beings. And human beings, we as human, we like human beings are built or were created for relationships. I relate with you, you relate with me, you know. But with parents or with a lot of parents, they see their children as my prize, my my possession, my reward of being in a marriage, or my reward of being in a marriage. So they see the children as that. That is why you see a lot of people, they have children that they have not planned for, because they see them as their prize. Like, have somebody having five. There's nothing wrong with, I mean, if you can afford it, fine. If you can handle the stress, because I can tell you, handling children is stressful. No lie about it. I'm a mother myself, so I know. I have two toddlers and one teenager, so I know how hard it is. It's stressful. That's why I said in the beginning, I said not too long ago, that you have to be psychologically prepared for it. You have to be psychologically prepared to build a relationship with your children. Dr. Sunday, I'll give you my example. I have a 19-year-old who is currently in Ghana now, and there is no day I don't communicate. I don't know what he's doing at a particular time. I don't communicate with him, because I have built that friendly relationship. My son can tell me anything. He can tell me who is bothering him. There was a time he was changing his numbers because he said the girls are disturbing him. He can tell me what this girl said, what she wants me to do with her, and things like that. I've built that friendly relationship that he can open up and tell me everything. My 7-year-old, I've also opened up to him. Tell me anything. If he feels that he's being bullied, or he thinks that, okay, little things like that. My 5-year-old as well, I tell them to look at me, we joke, we laugh, and that's the kind of atmosphere I and my husband have decided to build around our home. We build healthy relationships with the children, but when we have to draw the line, we draw the line. Because sometimes when you become too friendly with the children, they will take advantage of you, and so we draw the line where the line is. But we still have that relationship. And a lot of parents don't know how to build relationships with their children because of how we see children to be. We see children as our prize or as our trophy,
More like a property.
Exactly. More like a property, or more like a prize, like I said, trophy. That, oh yes, I've got married, I have quiver of them, but we don't build that relationship. You have maybe a parent maybe providing the needs or the wants of those children, but they don't have a relationship with them. Those children cannot come and tell them things that they need to hear. Those children may not tell them the things that are bothering them. Those children may not tell them what is going on in their lives. Like I said, I have a 19-year-old that tells me everything that is going on in his life. He tells me everything. Everything that what he wants to do, his plans. He's told me, mommy, this is what I want to do in the next 5-10 years. He already has his own plan of what he wants in the next 5 years, what he wants to do with himself for the next 5 years, So we have that healthy relationship. My 7-year-old will come and tell me, mommy, I want to do this, or then the next day he changes because he's still in that toddler, trying to make up his mind and things like that. But I get to know what is going on with him in school. I don't have to wait for a teacher to come and tell me that, oh, your son is shy. No, I already know he's shy. I don't have to wait for the teacher to tell me that, oh, your daughter is resilient in class. I already know she's resilient because I already have a healthy relationship with her. So it takes effort. And I will always say this again, and it takes psychological preparation. Because before I got married, I had already done, I had enjoyed my single life. I traveled everywhere I wanted to, traveled all over the world where I wanted to go to establish myself in business and whatever it is. And I now physically prepared myself. And I told myself, now I am prepared to become a full wife and a dedicated parent. The same thing too with my husband. When I met my husband, he had also made up his mind. I'm ready for this. I'm physically and psychologically ready for this. Plan how many children we want, including the one that I had before I got married to him. And then we forge along. But a lot of people don't have these plans, don't think about all these things. Marriage just comes to them as it has come in. It just comes to them as the air they breathe. And then the children just come to them as, a shock or surprise. Not shock or surprise, but comes to them as a trophy. But in their mind or in their psychological mindset, they were not prepared. So that's why you see sometimes some parents lash out at their children at maybe frustration from work and things like that. Don't get me wrong. I also sometimes lash out, especially when you said, which is a normal thing anyway. You've said something and it doesn't go the way you're supposed to go and things. But you have to control how you lash out those things, because if you don't control, you are damaging somebody else's life. So for instance, maybe say somebody has made me have a very bad day, and I come home, and then because of that bad day, I now start, venting all my anger on the child and calling the child coconut head, go and sit down, you are useless, your things like that. I'm rather damaging that child than the person who must have upset me outside is walking a free man, but I'm damaging somebody inside. So you have to be like I say, psychologically balanced, or how to differentiate how you relate with your children. If you have a friendly or you have a human relationship with the children, you will not curse out your children. If you know that your child, you tell your child says to you, "Mommy, I love you," and you say that child back, "I love you too," you will not curse that child. You will not say that child is coconut head.
But they said they don't mean it now.
But you've said it. That word has come out. You said it, but you are damaging that child, because that child at certain ages, anything you say to a child is like their brain is like a computer. It stores that information. You see, so that is why you have to be prepared to say to yourself, am I prepared to handle another human being? Treat that human being as I would have loved to be treated. Because as I say, we as parents, we've also been in that phase of life before. So we need to look at and see how would we love to be treated. We should treat our children that way. And building that friendly relationship with your child, it takes effort. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes knowledge, seeking for knowledge, just as how you improve yourself in your education, in your career, or in your academics, or what have you. You also have to improve yourself in your parenting skills, which is very important. Which is very, 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 very important. There are books out there, outlines, online research. People can read. These days, you get pop-ups on your phone, articles, that have been written. I have a blog that I've written some articles, although I'm doing a revamp on it now. I post articles on my Facebook wall, sometimes almost every day, When I see things, something very interesting, and I'm not too busy, I write articles, some of which are already in the book, and I put it out there for people to read, and help and develop themselves. So we have this dispensation. We don't have any excuse to say that we will not bring up godly children.
No, you say we don't have excuse.
Yes, because
What
all the
about what
information.
about the foreigners that are living in the West? Because
Yes,
most
they in
people
fact,
say that that is the excuse. That's why they cannot bring up godly children because it's happening. No, because they are living in a different society.
I sometimes I say that is an excuse for people who want to always shift the blame of their irresponsibility, because you can parent children very well in the UK or in America, wherever you find yourself. It is determination. You have to be determined, and you have to grab your knowledge. You have to feed yourself with the appropriate skills, and you have to imbibe that in your children. Pastor Sunday, I'll give you an example. Was it just on Saturday or so? My son was telling me something. He said, Mommy, I will not drink beer when I grow up, or I will never drink beer. I said, why? He said, beer makes you vomit. This is a 7-year-old telling me this. He says beer makes you vomit. I said, how do you know? He said, oh, that he has seen his friend was telling him that when they went to his friend and his family went to city center, they saw a lot of people who drank beer and were vomiting. So that his friend came back to tell him that because of beer, because of that, they will not drink beer. This is a 10-year-old telling a 7-year-old. So the two of them have resolved among themselves that they will not drink alcohol. So you see, these are some of the values that we see, even in, and like I said, I think I've mentioned it to you before. When we were growing up, my dad made us to read a book called The Mayor of Casterbridge, a man who sold his family for the love of alcohol. And since I read that book till I speak to you, I've never tasted a drop of alcohol. None of my siblings, because we know the effects of alcohol. The same thing I did with my 19-year-old. My 19-year-old told me that, I said, Mommy, that thing tastes bitter. I don't think I even want to try it. So it is how you as a parent, you inculcate some kind of value system in your family life, and you pass it on to your children. That helps your children, in wherever they find themselves, whether they find themselves in the gang, in the midst of gangsters, they will always remember that, look, in my family we never do this, and children will stick to it. Imagine my 7-year-old, with his friends saying that, look, beer makes people to vomit. So because of that, they will not even want to attempt it. But if you as a parent, you do not imbibe those values, within yourself, or you tell them that, do as I say, don't do as I do. In most cases, in our African setting, that you see the children will say, okay, fine. They say I should do what they see, but not what they do. But they are doing the other way, the other thing, or they're going the other way. That's what causes a lot of vices among our children. Then if you don't keep to family rules, you don't have a governmental structure in your home, and you don't stick to that governmental structure, that is where you have your children, you lose your children. Like for the knife crime that we're prevalence of knife crime that we're seeing in the UK, we have a lot of factors, that have caused these. One, the state, I always say, is the greatest problem that we have, because the state has taken away powers from parents. So parents do not have control over their children. So you have children within those ages of 8, 9, 10, who they're trying to develop themselves, or their parents were not able to capture them properly within those ages, before the early stages. You have those parents having a losing grip on their children. So you have a child who is age 9, 10 years old carrying a knife, or you have that child telling their parent that, look, mommy, if you don't stop that, I would call social services on you and things. Meanwhile, she has already lost control of that child because she didn't acquire knowledge that could help her mold that child to a certain level where she wouldn't have lost that child. So by the time it gets to a certain stage, she has completely lost that child. So the fear of that child telling her that, oh, mommy, if you beat me, or daddy, if you shout on me, I'm going to call social services on you. That fear is there. So the parent doesn't have that control. So they leave the children to do whatever they want to do. So the children go out, meet with other children that are in their same category, or where they feel that that is where they belong. That's where you see all these vices from. Another thing too is that you have parents too who are not providing for their children, have them unkempt, when they want things like biscuits or ice cream or things like that, which are very cheap, they withhold those things from the children. So when they go outside, there's a man standing by the roadside. Do you want Maggie? Yes. So they take them to McDonald's and buy the McDonald's for them, not knowing that, yes, he's buying the McDonald's for you, but you will pay in another, that you will make that child to pay. So when you start withdrawing, you don't give your children good clothes to wear, don't give them snacks, those little things that children like, you draw those things or you withhold those things from them, then somebody outside will do your job for you. But at the end of the day, that person outside is going to use your child to be a drug peddler, because that is what we see when they interview a lot of these children who are doing all these things. They say, look, this is what it is. It's poverty. Not poverty per se, because here I would say that yes, there's poverty in England or there's poverty in the diaspora, but not to the extent where you would be withholding things like biscuits, chocolates, ice cream, things that children love. Number 3, a lot of parents too don't have the time. You see the two parents, mother and father, are going to work at the same time. Meanwhile, it's supposed to be, one vice versa. Maybe sometimes some children may not even see their parents for the whole week. You have some teenagers like that. They may not have seen their father, they must not have seen their mother. Maybe by the time they're going to school, that's when their mother is coming back from work. And then she would maybe at home, and then by the time they come back from school, she's going to another job. So there is no time for that relationship with the children. And like I keep on saying, these are things that you need to plan, have in your mindset. When I get married or when I start having children, how are we going to work around work? How are we going to have time for our children? I and my husband, we had a plan. My husband works from home. I do all the gallivanting and what have you. He is more with the children. Both of us are with the children, but he is more. And I like it that way because he is their father figure. So he does most of the school runs. So because he works from home, he does the school runs, picks the children up from school. By the time I have gone for my referrals, maybe in the mornings, yes, definitely in the mornings, I have the children with me, get them ready for school. He takes them to school. I also do my referrals and things like that. But because he works from home, he picks the children up from school, gives them their lunch. If there is homework, he does it with them. When I come back, I then take over. But he's also there. His presence is there 24/7. So it is something that both of us resolved in. We said, look, we have to have proper time for our children. We want our children to, this is our government structure at home. Father, mother must be present at all times. And it is working. We are living in diaspora. And I can tell you, sir, we are not hungry. We are comfortable in where we are. We're very, very, very comfortable. I mean, comfortable. As in, we you know. But this is something that we've planned. We both planned it before we started having our children. We said, look, this is how we're going to do it. By the time, maybe say, I'm having the children, I was working and all that, maybe little and things. But at this stage, when they are toddlers, one person has to forgo something. And then he said, I will work from home. And it's worked for all of us, you know, and I pray that it will continue to work until, you know, by the time the children are in secondary school and things like that, they will still have the two parents 24/7 present in the home. Because my husband has been a teacher before, he has that firm grip. I'm the softie. So he has that firm grip and it's working for us. Although sometimes he might be a little bit hard and things, but I'm the one that has the social service eye and things like that. So I try to, you know, caution him and say, no, don't do like, do it this way, do it that this way. It's all planning. You can bring up godly children wherever you are in the world, whether you are in diaspora, whether you are back home, wherever it is. It all comes to planning. Process, as you say, you know, there has to be a process, orderliness, you know, guidance, how we go about it, you know. Like I speak to you now, he has taken the children for their sports because I'm having an interview with you. And when he takes them for sports, they behave themselves properly. That mean when I take them to sports, yes, they behave, but you know, they would pull me here, you know, they'll be running helter skelter and things. But you see, it's how we have managed to plan ourselves. Like somebody will say, oh, is God is on your side? I say, no, it's not God on our side. It is your brain that you use in developing how you want to bring your children up. That's why when the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, it's not physical chastisement. It is how you model that child, how you and your partner or everybody around you plan to bring up those children. That is what develops them into the adults that we would see in the future.
So it means that, because in the UK right now, I don't know if you saw the statistic. I saw the statistics that children, before it used to be that the Caribbean children, Jamaicans,
Yes.
were the ones who were mainly in the prison. But
Yeah.
now they said they now have more African children in prison.
Yes.
I mean, young teenagers.
Yes.
Okay, more Africans
Yes.
in the children of African immigrants in
Yes.
prison than even the Jamaicans and the
Yes.
Caribbeans. So is it that the
Yes.
parents don't know these things you are saying? That's why you have to write this book, or what?
Yes, in a way, both ways. Some of them don't know this, and some of them it is circumstantial. I'll give you the circumstantial
Example.
part of it. Yes, when you have parents whose immigration status are pending in the Home Office for years.
No,
this
but
is what happens.
a lot, those kind of people are the majority now.
Yes. Then you have a lot of them too who are trying to make ends meet. So father, mother are working at the same time and are not
They are not present with the children.
exactly, and have not planned themselves properly, or cannot effectively communicate with each other as to how they want to bring up their children. So you see them more of, you know, going to work, you know, chasing the pounds, chasing the dollar, you know, and neglecting to the children's detriment. These are some of the vices. Then you also have children who see their parents who are struggling, to make ends meet, because maybe say the kind of jobs that they're doing are not enough to meet the needs in the home. So some of these children see their parents, especially their mothers, suffering, or their fathers suffering, in making ends meet. So they themselves also want to go out and bring something. So you have some of these children who are being peddled by gang leaders or gang members to perpetrate crimes that they pay heavy sums of money to. So, for instance, you may have a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, which we are seeing now these days, who maybe say they are residing in London, but they have come up north to Liverpool, Warrington, and Cheshire areas to sell drugs because they see that their parents are suffering, or they have been enticed by these gang members who have taken advantage of them, maybe because their parents may not be able to afford to buy them things like night trainers, the latest jackets, or the latest jeans, or the latest whatever. And they see that their parents are really struggling, you know. So these children will now take it upon themselves to, do some of all these things, and then find themselves in trouble or find themselves in jail. So these are the
This
things
is a
that
very interesting perspective that you are bringing,
exactly. You see, a lot of, and
because
these
a
are
lot
some
of
of the
them are in the gangs, and I was wondering how did they get there.
exactly. But the thing is, a lot of people, why how they get there is because of a poverty, well, yeah, poverty and lack of
Oversight.
parental responsibility. you know Everybody is chasing what they have to chase, and then those two who are collecting, who have, because we have where some of the minority, after you've got
Papers.
your indefinite stay, or your leave to remain and what have you, you could collect what we call tax credits. Now these tax credits are supposed to be a cushion to help parents, you know um help parents provide things for their children. But sometimes you see some of these are parents too, using this their soft cushion to build houses in places where the children would never go and live. You
Yeah,
understand?
they
So
send it to
the
Africa. They send the money to Africa.
exactly, send the money to Africa, and build houses that they will never live in, and to the detriment of the children here. So some of all these things are there, and then, like I said before, when the state also takes powers from the parents just say, okay, because of the kind of work, because some majority, or you see a few of these parents are maybe engaged in care, in maybe work that have to work they have to do with they have to work with adults, in care homes and things like that. So if the child is threatening to say, I'll call the social services on you, it can go on their DBS or on their police report to say that, look, this child has reported the parent to the police and he's been cautioned on things like that. So because of that, and those jobs are easy to get than the mainstream jobs. So if when they get that, then it means that they cannot get any job to do. So they prefer that the child goes astray, than to cut short what would give them bread and butter,
But a lot of
to
them just want to believe. Most of our people, though, the reason why they are not reading those books is, and they don't even think about it. Sometimes nobody ever told them they have to study to even be parents. What people know is that
yes,
you have to marry to be a parent, but not to study to
ex-
be a parent.
exactly, and that is why, with the kind of service that I've brought in, or I'm doing here. I try to let parents understand that, or new parents, especially young couples wanting to get married, that before you get married, please read this book. Please read this book. Are you physically, are you psychologically, are you financially prepared for this journey? Because a lot of them will say, oh, when we get married, and God will do it, or the children are a blessing, so when children are born, they come with their own blessing. That
Yes.
is the
There is
fallacy.
a lot of philosophy like that.
Exactly, that children come with their own blessing. No, the thing is, you have to plan. If you are earning £1,000 today, out of that £1,000, £800 will go into your, or let's say me even say, even that £1,000 will go into your upkeep, take care of your children and things like that. So are you prepared to forego going to the cinema? Are you prepared to forego, buying £100 wig
No,
for
but
your
it's
hair?
not because of even the wig and the cinema that the people don't have money. Most people from Africa don't have money because a large percentage of it is going to church.
Well, yes, 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 yes.
But so
I,
they
I
say, I've done my own part. I give tithe and offering. God will do his own part. And his
exactly.
own part is to take care of my children because I've done my
Yes,
own part.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
since I've done my own part, God will make my children to grow up to be good. Because some preachers say you have to sow a seed to have godly children. You have to
Yes,
sow a seed because my own children married as virgins. So 1,000 will make your own children also to be well behaved and married as virgins.
yeah. That's also the fallacy of, like I said to you, religion, where has beclouded, our community. Instead of, thinking logically that, look, if I put this 1,000 aside, and I put every month, or I'm sowing 1,000 for the so-called for my child's future, why don't I put that £1,000 in an account where, at least when I need this money to get emergency stuff for them, or buy things that they say they want, I can quickly go into it. But because we've been clouded by religion, which sometimes is always the case, I'm praying that God will help, will find a way of, demystifying, some of all these things. And I tell people, I say, look, just if you can do this for 1 month or 2 months, the so-called money tithe that you put it into a savings account for your children. And maybe say once in a month, tell yourself that once in a month, that money I've put aside, I'll use that money to take the children to McDonald's, or I'll use that money and buy something nice for them. Won't you see your children come around you, and become well behaved? I did that. I told the lady to do that, and she came to me and said, "Oh, madam, what you said it really makes sense. My children are now happy with me." So these are some of the things that I think the church needs to teach people, that look, yes, you could use this money. Yes, the church may need money to build whatever it is, but you need to build your family first.
Building
You
lives.
Yes, you need to build your family first, you know. But when you don't have people who themselves are not trained, or they themselves are not even prepared, how then do you expect people to, improve themselves? That's why I keep on saying to people, go and buy books. I always recommend books. I said, look, as parents, apart from my book, go and read. There was a parent I told, I said, have you heard of Dr. Sunday? He said, yes, I've heard of Dr. Sunday. I said, have you read any of his books? He said, I didn't know that he write books. And so I now gave him my copy of Who Am I to go and read. He hasn't returned it. I'm sure he must have found that book very, very interesting, because I said, if when I'm doing therapies or I'm doing referral work, I have to tell the parents to look at themselves introspective. What are the things that when they were growing up, what didn't they like? Or what is it about themselves that they don't like? That maybe the children are seeing and is causing that friction between themselves and their children. So they need to discover who they are and who the responsibility that has been given to them as a parent, because that is what a lot of people don't have. They don't understand the responsibility. They think that the responsibility is just to provide, provide or give the children clothes, provide shelter and things. They don't know that it goes beyond that. It goes beyond providing, but actually building relationships with children
Can people
and
get,
understand
yes, can
and
people get
understanding.
your books by getting in touch with you on Facebook?
Yes, you
If
can get
if
the books by getting in touch with me.
if they
Or
if they inbox you.
yes, or they can go on Amazon and get the Kindle version.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
But
yes, go ahead.
if they want it, they can inbox me. I can post it. I can send it to them and show how they can, make payment and then post it to them.
So
Yeah.
on Amazon, you only have the Kindle version.
No, I have both.
Okay, so they can
So
buy
for
the
those
physical
in
book
yes,
also on Amazon.
exactly. So those in the US or those in wherever outside the UK, they can get it on Amazon. You can even get it in Amazon in from the UK. But if you want like a physical autographed
Book.
copy, you contact me and then I'll send it to you.
Okay, and please, for people who are watching the program right now, I want to use this opportunity to talk to all of you. Parenting is one of the greatest responsibilities in life. And we have been talking about effective parenting, which is the book that Vanessa has written from her own wealth of experience to be able to help all of us, both Africans back in Africa and the ones in the diaspora, and also people from everywhere. Because this book I read it, and it will be a great, great blessing to everybody, either you are European, African, Caribbean, anywhere. So please, get in touch with her, like she said, through her Facebook page, or just, if you go to Facebook, you can inbox her. That's on one hand, but maybe some of you want to contribute to this program today. For those of you who might want to contribute and call into the program, please go to the way we normally do it. Go to Move Agents, Matic. So you go to Facebook Messenger and look for one word, Move Agents. It's one word. Even though it's a compound word, two words in one, but you put them together, Move Agents, and you write us that you want to call and you want to contribute. So we will be able to call you and call you back and connect you so that we could hear your thoughts. So if anybody that wants to call, please go to Facebook Messenger. And besides Vanessa's book, which is a book that we are talking about mainly today, but I also have two books that I've written on children and on parenting. One is how to build friendly relationship with your child. That is what you are seeing now, how to build friendly relationship with your child. Then the other book is how to form core values, how to create core values in a child, how to create core values in a child. I have about 10 books on parenting and children, but they are not in English yet. Only 2 of them are in English that are here. But let's see if we have callers. And if anybody would like to call, please go ahead and let us know, and we'll call you back. So, Vanessa, with this
Yes, sir.
your knowledge, do you do seminars or training or consultation or things like that?
Yes, I do seminars. When I started doing parenting work, I started with a few seminars for parents themselves.
Okay.
Yes, for parents themselves. So I would bring parents together. I'll bring practitioners. There was a time I brought a doctor who a gynecologist who explored. In fact, he did real justice to that seminar for me. Explored the difference, how it is post birth,
So,
stress and all that.
yes.
Yes, and how the children develop and how you have to be physically, prepared to be a child, to be a parent and even to carry the child. Because the thing is, some people
Vanessa, I'm sorry. I think we have a caller here. Hello?
Hi, Dr. Sunday. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Who is calling from where, sir?
This is Richard. I'm calling from Canada.
All right. Thank you so much. Nice to hear from you today. Yeah, we're hearing you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sunday, and your guest.
Yeah, Vanessa.
Vanessa. Yeah, I've been following up the program from Canada. Like I said, my name is Richard, and it's so educative. I'm really, really impressed with the program. And I want to say a big thank you to you for all the good work you do, and to Vanessa for the wonderful book she just wrote. Yeah, I've discovered in Canada, Dr. Sunday, that a lot of us Africans who are here in this part of the world, probably we have not really understood what it means to raise up children.
So the same challenge, the same challenge in the UK, in Canada too, eh?
Yeah, we have the same challenges here. In fact, we think that we are here just to chase money.
Yes.
Chase dollars. Yeah, we think that that's the main reason why we are here. Yeah. So we don't really have time for the children. And again, one thing I realized, Dr. Sunday, this may interest you, is that we come from Africa, right?
Yep.
We give birth to children in Canada, and then we concentrate only within the African community.
Yeah, sad.
So we have, like, okay, for example, you have a church where you have just Africans.
Wow.
And that child, a child who is going to spend the rest of his life here in Canada,
and he's not saying Canadians.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. He's not seeing Canadians. He's not relating with the people with whom he's going to spend the rest of his or her life with.
My God.
All his or her time is, within that African community, within the church setting.
Wow.
And what we do within that setting is a replica of what we do in Africa. So that child grows up in that environment, and that child is going to face
a lot of conflict with the reality of the society is living in.
Absolutely. So that's one of the challenges we face here. And like Vanessa was saying there, it's all about work, and work. So I'm really glad this topic came up. And I was just going to ask Vanessa, I was just going to ask you, Dr. Sunday.
Yes.
So in a situation like this, where you are working full time.
Yeah.
And your wife is working full time,
yes.
Yeah. So what can be done in that kind of a situation? Because you go to work in the morning, your wife goes to work in the morning, and both of you come back in the evening. Like Vanessa is saying, her own case is different. She is fortunate that the husband stays at home.
Yes.
Works from home.
Yes.
And not many people will have that
opportunity.
Opportunity of working from home, of one of the partner working from home. So
the way we have dealt with that is that I wrote it actually in one of my books. It's called How to Create Core Values in Your Children. So it's all about the tactics of how to create core values. What we do is that we decided to make appointments with our children every day.
Okay.
It's either me or my wife, but we make that appointment. The appointment could last between 30 minutes to 1.5 hours, depending. So we just discuss.
Okay.
We could do it together with mostly together with all of them. We take a topic, let's say a topic like who am I, or something, a topic, a book, let's say a book like that, and we go from one chapter. So a whole week we are dealing with that one chapter where we are communicating and discussing about it. But then they think that they're having fun, but it's really building values into them.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So even though we might not have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 hours at home sitting down, but we might have that 30 minutes of quality, focused, directed time of cultivating values.
Okay.
That
Thank you
that
so
will
much,
go a
Dr.
long way.
Wow, that's a wonderful idea.
Yes, and if
Another
you
thing
want to
I've
know
been
what to talk about, what are you going to be talking about? That is what is in that book, How to Create Core Values. I wrote what are the values that you want to focus
Okay.
on, and how to get them to inculcate them in the children.
So this topic you just talked about now is in that book.
Yes, all the topics, many topics.
Okay, so I'll just go
A list of topics that are needed to formulate your child to be a godly child when he grows up.
Oh wow! So I'm going to go for the book. And lately, we're just having a conversation with my wife on how we can really get our children to integrate, into the.
Why don't you go to a mixed church?
We just spoke about that. We just talked about that, I and my wife, and we're saying that we're going to look for a mixed church where these children will be able to interact with people from other,
Cultures,
from other countries, other cultures, because all you find in our environment is I am from Cameroon. I have a Cameroon origin, and in my church, most of the people there, I don't want to mention the name of the church, most of them are, in fact, they are your tribes people.
Yoruba people.
And they are very deep in culture and
very deep in culture
and all of that. Yeah. So most of the time, that's what they display. And I was just wondering, are my children going to grow up in this kind of environment where all you see is,
demonstration of culture?
Demonstration of culture. Yeah, we need a bit of that. We need a bit of that, but we also need
because the rest of their lives, like you said, the rest of those children's lives is going to be there. At least you understand Africa, because a large part of your own life was in Africa. But for them,
in Africa,
it's not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing also here we want to realize is, most of us, there are certain things that we don't talk about.
Oh yes.
That we find difficult to talk about. We find it difficult to talk about homosexuality,
yes,
about gay, about sex, and all of those things. And all of that comes from our culture. But they're in a society, they are in an open society, where they're going to be seeing all of those things.
Wow.
And I think it's time we begin to talk about those things with them. They don't need to go and get it outside.
Beautiful.
They need to get it from us. We talk about it with them so that when they go out there and they see it, it's not going to be a surprise to them.
Brilliant.
Because we've already talked with them about it. We've already talked about that with them at home. We have analyzed the whole situation. We have talked about it. We have discussed it. So so that is
beautiful.
Yeah,
Richard, that's a rich contribution. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Well, Vanessa, maybe in the meanwhile, you could give your own view about the question. If husband and wife are working from morning, two of them go out in the morning and come back in the evening, what will you say about that?
Yes. For those who have that,
situation.
Working, yes, that situation. The beauty about those of us who live in diaspora is that we can rotate shifts.
Okay.
So I think employers are very, very particular when children are involved. So if maybe there's a way you can talk to your employer to say, look, I've got young children. I can work maybe say They can give you, they can work you, they can do it in such a way that you can work around your children. So maybe say if you are doing a day shift, maybe they may say, why don't you start work, because you may take the children to school maybe at 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock till people till school starts. But some parents take their children early, they take them for breakfast club and things like that. So you can take the, maybe if one person is taking the children to school, maybe say at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, you can talk to your employer to say you want to do maybe say 9 to 3, so that by that 3 o'clock, one person is picking the children up from school, so that at least you can have time with your children. So you are going to in the morning with your children and coming back with them in the afternoon.
Beautiful. I think, do we have a caller? I think we have a caller.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening,
Hello,
sir.
good evening. This is
yes.
This is Shay from London.
Shay from London. Wow, nice to hear from you again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I said this topic. I was just watching it now, and I was I really enjoyed the discussion, because everything Vanessa is talking about is actually real, especially when it comes to the immigrants and our African people.
Yes.
I think it's. I think if any culture needs a lot more knowledge, this kind of parenting knowledge, our own people need it more than anybody else. Because you know, I remember, you know, just this Uncle Sam system that we all come here, you know, we're
chasing after,
get a job. And it's like every day you're just walking.
In
fact, most of the time, even couples are busy competing with each other. Like, you know, I'm earning more money, she wants to earn more money, you know. And it's one of those challenging situations. Because I remember a few years ago, because my wife is a pharmacist, and where she studied and she works, so I was working nights. So it's like when I'm going to work in the evening, she's just coming back.
Please make sure you speak into your microphone. Speak directly to your microphone, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me better now, sir?
Better now, yes.
Okay. So it's like because of that work system, I was working night shifts and she was working day. And it's like we were just working, and it's like we were not even seeing each other.
Wow.
Even at that time, we had our little child, which was just about 2 then. So she would drop the child at the day nursery. So when I come back, so it was just like a routine, like for years, for like 3-4 years. And it got to a breaking point. You know, we started to have a lot of arguments, a lot of, you know, issues.
Challenges.
So, yeah, you know, challenges, you know, because we were married, but it was like we're not even married because everybody is just doing their own thing. So it's like we had to come to that breaking point and start discussing, like, okay, what can we do? Well, what do we, because I believe African people, our people, they just need to sit down and communicate.
Yes.
Just like one thing I've seen one of your videos in that family series when you were talking about planning, because let the truth be known, most of us, we didn't know about planning, about, you know, even planning before you get married. So everybody were just rushed into relationship.
Yeah, family series, you are right. Family series will really help a lot of our people.
Yeah, that family series is really loaded, because at least a lot of those things, because a lot of people, they just rush into things without thinking about, okay, what's going to happen when we have our first child? Who's going to pick that child up from school?
Yeah.
Who's going to pick, you know, who's going to do so many things?
Yeah.
So in maybe 7 years into our relationship, that's when we started making a lot of adjustments, you know, and you now start adjusting, okay, I'll start working from home. Okay, you can do this. Because in the UK, I mean, nobody is like you're just by yourself. You and your work and your family, you have to do it by yourself. Even though some of us, we might have sisters or uncles, but everybody is doing their own.
They have their own struggles.
Exactly. Everybody's on their own struggle. So it's the parenting, I think, is really, because like what you were saying the other time, I was telling my wife that I remember when I came to this country in 2000, we used to hear of gangs or criminals, and they were coming from the Caribbeans. But now it's different, because now we can hear some African names in the mix, some Nigerian names, Ghanaian names, and obviously is like there's a problem. There's a big problem.
Big problem. Yeah.
So it's like this knowledge, all these books, like we just ordered this your own book, How to Build a Friendly Relationship on Amazon.
With your
I think we always have to keep on learning about these things, because we can't know it all. So it's like we have to educate ourselves, because most of us we've been raised in Nigeria or in Ghana or in Africa, and we have a different mindset. So the way we even talk with our children is very different. We try to command them, we try to give instructions, but you are giving an instruction to a child, but it's like you are forcing them to do. We don't really communicate, we don't really talk to them.
Yes.
Even just to go to the park and play, a lot of things that our people need to start doing, instead of just going to parties on a weekend. But if they go to parties on a weekend, but they don't really spend time with the children.
Yeah.
They don't really spend like quality time with the children, So yeah, I really appreciate this program. So
thank you so much, Shay. That's a robust contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Right. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so people are just commending you and your work and our discussion. Were you able to hear him?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I did hear him. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And that's what he said is what a lot of people face. Like we were saying before the call came in, a lot of employers can work with parents around their shifts. So there are people who work at night, there are people who work during the day. So if you tell your employer, if you have a day, if your job is during the day, you can always arrange and say, look, I have children, I have to drop in school and things like that. And sometimes the schools also help as well.
Okay.
So maybe say they can allow you to bring your children in earlier and pick them later.
I think we have a caller. Hello?
Hello, TSA. This is Adobe.
This is?
Adobe from California.
Oh, right. Adobe from California. Can you speak louder? We could hardly hear your voice.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Better, a little bit better.
Oh, awesome. I almost didn't want to call in because it sounded like only parents were calling in and asking some questions. I was like, well, there was something I had in mind that I wanted to say.
Yeah, please.
So when I was told that I might be the last caller, I was like, okay, I might as well go ahead. So I have a question for both you and Vanessa in terms of people being ready for parenting.
Okay.
Because one thing I've seen is even our human-to-human interaction. What I've noticed about parenting, people in parenting positions, is seeing their kids as a different species of human beings.
Right.
When in reality, they are just little people, is what a book called them. And you have to relate with people as you will relate with people.
Wow.
And if imagine explaining a concept to somebody who has never heard it, the level of patience required, the level of the language, the terminology you use, because communication is talking to somebody in their language. It's not about your eloquence. It's not about how much you know of the subject. You're trying to pass a message across in a way that the person grasps it and is probably willing to learn more about it if it interests them, So I just wanted to ask, what are the practical steps people can take in terms of communicating with people, and then taking that to children, because children are not an entire species. One thing I've been able to appreciate from my own personal development in terms of learning is the brain develops at a different pace, and the information you feed the brain determines how fast it develops. That's why you
Yes.
have children geniuses, and that's why you have parents will have good relationships with their children. That's when they talk about Microsoft founder Bill Gates, how his parents, they were not really about whether he could go to school or not. We have traditional style of parenting, but there are exceptional parents who have decided, I'm going to have a relationship with my child, and that relationship is like, I'm not going to force you. Like, how did they come to think? Parents feel that they lose control of their kids when they have that relationship, as it were, which Vanessa did mention about drawing the line. But there's something I've listened over and over in many TED Talks, and they say confidence requires three things. There must be permission, there must be a community that supports that confidence, and then the person who is saying it needs to believe in you have that trust in yourself. Now, when I talk about permission, when she said permission, I was like, why should I have permission? But you see, if you don't feel like it's okay to have confidence, it's okay to speak out. That's the difference I've seen in American kids or Western kids and Nigerians. I know I was heady and stubborn as a kid, but I still had that pullback from parenting. That even when I came here, it was like, these people really don't say yes sir, yes ma. It's like, what's your name? No, I don't do that. There's this confidence and abrasiveness in Americans that it's like, there's no offense even on the other side when they have that authority of speech. But you see, in Africa, you even have to, even if you're asking for your rights, you have to be sure it's the right time, the right moment, the right place. There's so much landmines you need to avoid in the African context. So the parenting doesn't make it even any easier. There are so many kids, and that's why it's like when a kid comes to America, they are so free. They are ready to go wild because it's a newfound freedom. And you see, freedom that has no responsibility is not really freedom.
Yeah.
So it's like, parenting is of course telling someone what to do when they don't want to do it. It's difficult, but convincing somebody, that's why they say a lot of improve your argument, not your tone, not your don't get in. When she said emotional, and they see Africans like someone having a mental issue, it is so funny because it's so funny because when you see someone shouting when you just ask them a question, or people throwing insults in comments, I'm like, you've just shown you are angry. Really, it is a situation that can make you angry, and we know. But you've only shown us you're angry. You've not added to the quality of the conversation. You've not improved the argument in any way. You've not even improved your viewpoint, and that's the problem most parents have. You want to, you feel that authority where she said, "It's my possession. You are my possession. Whatever I say, however I said it, I know more than you. I'm your parent. I'm the adult in this situation." Yes, you are the adult, but you may not have the full information about the situation.
Right.
And it's not really about who has power, who is the adult, who is senior. It's about who has full information, the right information. And it's always like, when you communicate it, parents need to trust that their kids are growing adults. And if the brain knows that this is how to process information, it picks up that processing, just like forming habits. It's difficult at first, but once the brain forms a pact to that habit, it picks up so fast. You don't have to go through the stress of starting that habit because the brain already found a shorter path to that habit. And that's how I want to appeal to parents to see training kids or even communicating with any other adult who does not have that level of information or training they have. Once you make people understand that something, you are not stupid or you are not unintelligent for not knowing. Not knowing is not knowing. It does not define anything about you. It just says you don't know. So that's really what I wanted to say about parenting, and like, how can parents, what does she do for parents? I mean, African culture is so strong. It's such a strong culture in terms of, yes you can, no you can't, sit down there, don't be seen, don't talk. I remember when it was so popular when it said a girl child is meant to be seen, not heard. When I heard that as a young person, I tried to follow it, but my spirit was so rebellious. Because when I had something to say, I needed to be heard, or at least someone explained to me
Of course.
why I shouldn't. I knew my mother experienced a tough time with me on that, because she would be like, because she said so, and I'm like, but why? That was how I learned in school. I didn't just learn in school based on the teacher said. If I couldn't internalize the teaching, it didn't make sense. I couldn't pass that exam. But once I was able to understand why the principles worked or how they worked, it was so easy for me to excel in classes or in tests or in exams. Same thing with parenting. Once you are able to see how your child processes information, it's easy to get that what you are trying to pass across to them in that format. But when you resort to threats, shouts, and physical discipline, or even emotional or verbal discipline, because sometimes African parents can be very mean when it comes to verbal discipline, and that is even more, you are not a good person. It will stay with them. It's like, I've always been told I'm not a good person, so I know I'm not a good person. But if you build it in them that I know you know better, you can do better, what you've done is not right, you can do better, it helps the child forgive themselves even when they know they are wrong, because they've been taught the proper way to reconcile mistakes and learn from it and move on. So thank you so much,
Brilliant,
Vanessa. And
Adora,
it's
as usual.
amazing that somebody like you is doing that. Thank
Brilliant.
you, JC.
Well, I'm sure I hope you have listened to my family series.
I'm listening to the family series.
Gone.
Yes,
Well,
it's
for people who don't know,
what
in
you are
that family
saying.
series, I spoke about relationship, not just between the husband and the wife, between men and women, but also between parents and children, and how to raise up different kind of children. So I think that will be all for today. We still have callers? Okay, no. I think I will just let Vanessa go. So Vanessa, that is the last call. What would you like to say to our people who are watching us before you go today?
Yes, what I would like to say is, for those who want to be effective in their parenting, whether they are parents or they want to be parents in the future, or they're already parents and need like a guide, they should try and find the book to buy. And if you inbox me, I can send you a copy. And also, I have posted a link on the comment section for people to click and read, in terms of how to communicate with the children, with especially teenagers. So you will see, like, the the brain the brain of a child, how a child thinks, what they think, what is in there, for them to read and understand, so that when some kind of behaviors are going on, they've read and understood it, and they know how to go about it.
So in the
And
comment section, they can click and go right there.
yes, I've put it in the
On
comment
Facebook.
section.
On Facebook.
On Facebook, yes, on
Okay.
the comment section on
Okay.
Facebook. So what I want people to understand is, there is no straight, jacket way of parenting children, or being a parent, or being a good parent. The most important thing is just to seek knowledge. And seeking knowledge is not just by praying and fasting and whatever it is. It's by getting books, educational books to read. People have written what God has blessed them with, have written and put them in pen and paper for you to read and understand, so that you can use that to improve your parenting skills, and also to bring up godly children. Sometimes when we becloud ourselves with religion, we end up putting our children in the garbage, instead of acquiring the knowledge that we need to help these children grow. And like I said before, you have to be psychologically prepared to be a parent, physically prepared to be a parent, financially prepared to be a parent. if you have these three attributes, you bring up godly children.
Brilliant. You are just excellent. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you so
Thank you.
much for writing that book. And
Thank you.
I'm sure you have delivered a lot of people today. Greetings to the family.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Peace.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so this is it for today, and I will see you people tomorrow. God bless.